Hey there to our 750 subscribers, our future subscribers, and all the people that secretly watch us without subscribing. Today I'm looking at something that can be a little controversial, the difference between zodiac personality traits and mental disorders. Sometimes personality traits can resemble psychological symptoms on the surface. When that happens, people may assume something is wrong with someone else, when in reality they may just be expressing their natural personality. This video is not suggesting that zodiac signs cause mental disorders, and it is not diagnosing anyone. I'm simply looking at how certain personality traits can sometimes resemble psychological symptoms and how to tell the difference. I'll go through the zodiac signs one by one, talk about the traits associated with each sign, and look at a mental health condition that those traits can sometimes be mistaken for. And remember, a personality trait only becomes a disorder when it creates real disorder in someone's life, significant distress or impairment in daily functioning. And as I go through the signs, you may notice that some personality traits can look similar to psychological symptoms at first glance, but the key difference is whether that behavior actually disrupts someone's ability to function in daily life. So for each sign, I'll look at the traits, what they can sometimes be mistaken for, and how to tell the difference. All right, so here we go. Aries is often associated with high energy, boldness, competitiveness, and a strong tendency to take action quickly. Aries personalities often move fast, jump into new experiences, and prefer learning through action rather than long planning. Because of that impulsive and energetic style, Aries traits can sometimes be mistaken for behaviors associated with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. On the surface, both can involve impulsivity, restlessness, and high energy levels. However, ADHD is a It's a neurodevelopmental condition that affects attention regulation, executive functioning, and impulse control in ways that can interfere with daily life. Aries traits are usually more enthusiasm, confidence, and action-oriented personality rather than difficulty regulating attention. Being energetic or spontaneous does not automatically mean someone has a neurological condition. Taurus is commonly described as steady, patient, persistent, and resistant to sudden change. Taurus personalities often prefer routine, stability, and familiar environments. Because of the strong preference for routine and consistency, Taurus traits can sometimes be mistaken for obsessive-compulsive personality patterns. On the surface, both can involve liking structure, routines, and doing things a certain way. However, obsessive-compulsive personality disorder involves rigid perfectionism, intense control needs, and distress when things are not done exactly right. Taurus's stability usually comes from a desire for comfort and reliability rather than anxiety-driven perfectionism. Preferring consistency is not the same thing as experiencing compulsive behavior. Gemini is often associated with curiosity, adaptability, communication, and rapidly shifting interests. Gemini personalities may enjoy exploring many topics, talking through ideas, and moving quickly from one subject to another. Because of these shifts in energy and interests, Gemini traits can sometimes be mistaken for behaviors people associate with bipolar disorder. On the surface, both might appear to involve mood changes or bursts of energy. However, bipolar disorder involves distinct manic and depressive episodes that last or extend periods and significantly affect daily functioning. Gemini's changes are typically driven by curiosity, and social engagement rather than clinical mood cycles. Cancer is often described as emotionally perceptive, nurturing, protective, and strongly connected to family or close relationships. Because Cancer personalities may react strongly to emotional situations, these traits can sometimes be mistaken for behaviors associated with borderline personality disorders. On the surface, both may involve strong emotional responses and deep investment in relationships. However, borderline personality disorder involves severe emotional instability, identity disturbance, impulsive behavior, and intense fear of abandonment that disrupts daily functioning. Cancer traits usually reflect empathy, protectiveness, and emotional awareness rather than emotional instability. Leo personalities are often confident, expressive, charismatic, and comfortable being noticed. They often enjoy creative expression, leadership, and recognition for their efforts. Because Leos enjoy attention and self-expression, their traits can sometimes be mistaken for narcissistic personality patterns. On the surface, both may involve confidence, self-presentation, and a desire for recognition. However, narcissistic personality disorder involves lack of empathy, manipulation of others, and an inflated self-superiority. Healthy Leo traits often include generosity, warmth, and enthusiasm for sharing experiences with others. Confidence and charisma are not the same thing as narcissism. Virgo is commonly associated with attention to detail, organization, analytical thinking, and a desire to improve systems and processes. Because of their focus on order and precision, Virgo traits can sometimes be mistaken for obsessive-compulsive disorder. On the surface, both may involve organization, cleanliness, and careful attention to detail. However, obsessive-compulsive disorder involves intrusive thoughts and compulsive behaviors performed to relieve anxiety. Virgo organization usually reflects analytical thinking and problem-solving rather than anxiety-driven compulsions. Libra personalities often value harmony, fairness, cooperation, and diplomacy. They often consider multiple perspectives and prefer resolving conflict peacefully. Because of their relationship focus and desire to maintain harmony, Libra traits can sometimes be mistaken for dependent personality patterns. On the surface, both may involve valuing relationships and considering other people's opinions. However, dependent personality disorder involves extreme fear of being alone and difficulty functioning independently. Libra's diplomacy usually reflects balance and fairness rather than dependence. Scorpio is often associated with emotional intensity, privacy, perceptiveness, and strong intuition about people's motives. Because Scorpio personalities may be cautious about trust and protective of their inner world, these traits can sometimes be mistaken for paranoid personality patterns. On the surface, both may involve guarded behavior and careful observation of others. However, paranoid personality disorder involves persistent mistrust and belief that others intend harm. Scorpio privacy usually reflects emotional depth and desire for meaningful trust rather than chronic suspicion. Sagittarius personalities are often described as adventurous, independent, blunt, and freedom-loving. Because they may challenge restrictions or speak very directly, Sagittarius traits can sometimes be mistaken for oppositional or defiant behavior. On the surface, both may involve questioning authority or resisting limitations. However, Oppositional defiant disorder involves persistent anger, hostility, and conflict with authority figures that disrupt relationships and daily life. Sagittarius independence is usually about curiosity and exploration rather than hostility. Capricorn is often associated with discipline, ambition, responsibility, and a strong focus on long-term goals. Because of their serious and goal-oriented nature, Capricorn traits can sometimes be mistaken for obsessive work habits or rigid personality patterns. On the surface, both may involve dedication, persistence, and high standards. However, unhealthy work patterns involve compulsive behavior that interferes with rest, relationships, or well-being. Capricorn ambition usually reflects responsibility and determination rather than compulsion. Aquarius personalities are often unconventional, independent, intellectually curious, and interested in new ideas or social change. Because Aquarius can appear emotionally detached or socially unconventional, these traits can sometimes be mistaken for behaviors people associate with autism spectrum conditions. On the surface, both may involve unique communication styles or strong focus on ideas. However, autism spectrum conditions involve neurological differences affecting communication, sensory processing, and social interaction. Aquarius individuality reflects personality and worldview rather than neurological development. Pisces is often associated with imagination, empathy, creativity, and emotional sensitivity. Because Pisces personalities may retreat into imagination or deep emotional reflection, these traits can sometimes be mistaken for depression or dissociative behavior. On the surface, both may involve withdrawal or introspection. However, clinical depression and dissociative disorders involve persistent distress and impairment in daily functioning. Pisces sensitivity often reflects creativity, empathy, and emotional awareness rather than a mental health condition. Personality traits can sometimes resemble psychological symptoms on the surface, but context and impact matter. Having a strong personality trait does not mean someone has a disorder. And remember, a personality trait only becomes a disorder when it creates real disorder in someone's life, significant distress or impairment in daily functioning. Sorry, I feel like I'm losing my voice. Understanding the difference between personality and pathology can help us avoid labeling people unfairly and encourage more thoughtful conversation about both personality and mental health. If you have any thoughts on the subject, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Hopefully the video helped you see some people you know in a more open and forgiving way, and maybe even allowed you to forgive yourself a little too. With all of that said, please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and get your friends to do the same thing. Thank you.